Hey everyone, Works here. Apologies if I sound a little off. I woke up this morning and have been running a fever of 100, so I'm a little sick this weekend. Thankfully, I don't have my son, so he's not going to be at risk. So, it just sucks because I was going to wrap up my Christmas shopping today, but that's probably going to have to wait until early next week. Hopefully, I break all of this before my job interview next week as well. That would suck to have to do that sick. So apologies for that up front. I'm a little late on this because I've been working if you haven't read my community posts, I've been doing a lot of work kind of going through the next phase of my content. Um, for those of you that only watch my reaction videos, obviously I play a lot of World of Warcraft and I've been playing some other games as well, and I stream them on Twitch and here on YouTube. And as I've been evaluating things that I want to do for 2026 with my content in general, one of the things that has really come forward is I generally don't like the way I look on camera. All right, I'm not conventionally attractive like this man that's right here on this screen. This is a very, very pretty man. This man over here, not so pretty all the time. And for mental health purposes and reasons and stuff like that, I just am moving away from doing this full time and moving more into the PNG and VTubing world. I explain everything in the post. Go read it if you haven't already. That said, the reaction videos are going to stay this way. I've debated spritzing in like maybe some more pure analysis videos, touching on stuff that I've watched in the past but wouldn't be first time reactions, where you get more of the analysis side. For example, like Marwin Eamon's Halloween. This is Halloween in 30 styles. I've watched that video a lot. So being able to go down, it wouldn't be a reaction video, but so just having more of an analysis side, maybe that's something I could do with some of the new adventure I'm joining on. But these first time reaction videos, at least for the foreseeable future, are going to continue to have this thing in the bottom left of your screen. So, but if that changes, or if that's something that you're curious about, maybe like a video sporadically now and then, put out there with like maybe my new models as I get them employed or get them set up, mixed in with more of these, then I'm okay with that. So anyways, today we're going to be reviewing Geoff's O Come Emmanuel. I'm not familiar with this song at all, so someone please give me the history lesson on it. I'm sure Geoff gives a little bit of one in his description. He usually does, so we'll check that out after our first review. For those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. Those of you that are veterans of the channel, welcome back. It's always good to see you. For those of you that have never seen one of my videos, what I do with these types of things is I will go through and I watch these videos all the way through, no stopping, no pausing, anything like that. You just get kind of me watching this first reaction completely. So if you're here just to watch the video yourself, I'd recommend going to Geoff's channel, subscribing to Geoff's channel, going to that video and watching it on your own, because this thing in the bottom left of your screen might distract you. But if you're just here because you've already watched the video, you want to see what someone else's reaction to it is, then this is the perfect opportunity to do that. I then do a second playthrough of the video afterwards and discuss things that I think are cool and neat. I get into the analysis side of things, where I like to talk about the stuff that I find interesting about the incredibly creative works that Geoff and many other people that I've reacted to over time have done. So, so that's where we're at. So, if you want to see more of this, you can like, share, and subscribe. Notifications are also something I don't talk about a lot. On the desktop version of YouTube, at least, you can put on like a personalized thing. Like, yeah, let me show you with this Geoff video. So you just click this bell, but on this drop down, you can do personalized none or all videos, so that you can see what it does. And basically what happens is YouTube's algorithm figures out that you only watch my reaction videos, and so when I post those out, it'll push them a little bit more to the top of your subscription pages and your For You pages on YouTube and stuff like that. So also something that's very small, but it helps out, makes my content also get pushed a little bit more to the forefront, things like that. So let's get into this. This is Geoff's O Come Emmanuel. This is the first of probably 3 or 4 Christmas videos that I'll be reacting to over the course of the year. So let's dive into it. Let's do this. Let me crank up some audio here so we can get into this.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel that mourns in lonely exile here until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. Oh, come thou day spring, come and cheer our spirits by thine advent here. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night, and death's dark shadows put to flight. Come thou Key of David, come and open wide our heavenly home. Make safe the way that leads on high, and close the path to misery. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. Shall come to thee, O Israel. Shall come to thee, O Israel. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Geoff. Thanks for watching and Merry Christmas. If you'd like to join the list of names scrolling across your screen right now and get a whole sleigh full of extra
For the
goodies,
record, some of you guys
head on over to
comment on my
Patreon and
videos. I
sign up
see your
for free
names in
today.
here, and I love
I'll
that.
see you there. Special shout out goes to Holger Draco.
All right. Let's go to the credits, as we always do with this. So of course all this stuff was done. It was basically just the Geoff and Kathy project, and they filmed it at 1010, which they filmed at before. I think Geoff in particular has done stuff at 1010, but I think VoicePlay has as well. Yeah, O Come, Emmanuel has had its orders over 1,200 years ago, and we're still singing it today. Those of you that are into the Latin text will be more familiar with its title, Veni Veni Emmanuel. I don't speak much Latin anymore, not since the fall of Rome anyway. Nice. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. Have a safe holidays. So, okay. So, yeah, this is very cool. So it lacks the, like, super, like, big epic moments that say, like, Carol of the Bells did last year, which is one of my favorite covers. Like, that one and God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, I think, is the other one that I'm thinking of. Two of my favorite Christmas covers of anyone out there. So it lacks that kind of big epic moment where Geoff does these, like in Carol of the Bells, we and some of it's the style of song. Like Carol of the Bells is a song that is meant to be driving and has a level of intensity. This one definitely much more melancholy overall with its tone and approach. Doesn't mean that it can't be intense. It can be intense in different ways, but it doesn't have like that sort of traditional intensity that Carol of the Bells does. Where once Carol of the Bells gets going, it doesn't stop until its end. Like dun 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 dun. Like it just keeps going, and this song doesn't have that. So naturally, there's going to probably be like that mixed thing, and then of course you have in Geoff's version of it that those deep subharmonic, like that chorus subharmonic, where he's doing these subharmonics that were definitely amped way up in post production in order to get him to sound the way that they did in that song. But so it lacks that. But this I think was really cool and really interesting for a variety of different reasons. Some really cool harmonies that he did here, stuff that like real. I mean, you saw me turning my head like a puppy dog a lot, and it's because I was just hearing stuff that I was like, my brain was trying to process it, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all, actually. I like this cover for different reasons. Like, if I want a Christmas song that's going to bring intensity, that's going to have something that's a little bit more catching that I'm showing to, like, my friends or family, then I'm picking Carol of the Bells. But if I'm playing this for, like, someone that knows vocal arts of some kind or music arts of some kind, then I probably will give him this one, actually. I'm pretty sure he uses drum samples as he does. Those really caught my attention. So sorry, we're going to yap about that quite a bit in this video probably. But yeah, this is a very, very different cover from Carol of the Bells. And I saw a very small amount of discourse right after this release that like this wasn't Carol of the Bells. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's not intended to be. Like Carol of the Bells is unique. Oh, Come Emmanuel is unique in its own way. So, yeah, I really like what he did with this. Some really cool musicality moments in here. Obviously, we get our 5 Geoffs. They're back for this Christmas. They all must have behaved, so they get to be brought out again. And so, yeah, there's gonna be a lot more focus on the musicality aspect. Like visually, not a lot of stuff going on here. Like Carol of the Bells also had things like the camera shaking moments and like the dramatic zoom ins on Geoff when he did his first carol chorus, and because of the intensity of the moments, he had some moments where the like Geoff's on the end were really getting into the groove and the feel and the vibe, and they were doing some stuff that would be considered over the top by some standards, but in music theater standards, that's exactly what you need to do. Whereas this one was a lot more calm. It's something that I would see much more being sung by like a bunch of friends, a bunch of music nerds sitting around a couch at like a friend's at like a we call it Friendsgiving. I don't know what the Friends version of Christmas is in terms of any vernacular for it, but like something like that where everyone's just kind of sitting around, having just given each other gifts or maybe eating a good meal, and now they're just chilling and somebody starts singing and everyone joins in. Like that's the vibe that I get with this. Whereas Carol of the Bells, you're putting on a full production for that because of the way that the song is kind of made for that type of environment, whereas this song is made for a much different environment. Obviously very much has its roots in the church, so we'll give it that. It's more of a church hymn, but thinking of it in outside that scope, I think of it like you get a bunch of music nerds around the couch, someone starts singing, all of them join in, and that's what you get. So if you're here for just the reaction, that's the end of the video for you. For those that want to stick around, let's get into it some more.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel.
I love a little thing that he did here. So, one, this is like the most traditional Geoff arrangement opening in his solo work that you'll ever see. I've talked about this before. For those of you that are new, one of the things that Geoff does in a lot of his solo songs, if you go back and watch a lot of them, he does this a lot, is that he'll have his baritone bass lead line that starts off everything, and everything else goes not O, not oo, an M vowel, or an M consonant sound. And a lot of that's so that things have space to build and grow, because is very pulled back versus being pulled back, is not pulled back at all, rather. And so This is like a very much a classic Geoff start where he gets this one lead line that establishes, the voice that you're here for. Everyone knows he's a bass singer. He would call himself a baritone with bass range, and he is an absolute insane man for saying that. He is a bass with tenor range. But he always does this to establish his lead line. Like, I, of course, immediately go to Misty Mountains, one of my favorite, if not my favorite cover of Geoff's. Although Song of Durin has kind of taken over that spot, and Big Iron is another one that I really like. But anyways, like Misty Mountains, I go straight to that where we start off with our, ooh or and then of course you get the iconic, and then Geoff comes in with his lead line. So it's a little bit of a different version than what this one is, but it's still like the same kind of classical Geoff start where he does these pulled back vowels with his supporting cast, and then his lead line takes front and center stage. The other thing that I really like is right at the end here, he does his first line, resolves on a note, which one I can't say because I'm not that good at it. His second line goes below that, but then at the end resolves up to what sounds like the same note. So I think I really like that. We'll listen to that here real quick and then we'll move forward.
He's right.
Right there on L, he resolves upward, which is not something that you see a lot. When you see a lot of resolutions, they always resolve downward. A great example of this in Geoff's catalog, or his voice play catalog at least, is Dragonborn Comes. When they do the very beginning, they do I tell you, the Dragonborn, and then they have that pause, and then Omar does the comes. That comes is a note that's down from the note previous, so it resolves down. Resolving up is not done often. They kind of do it. The bass game kind of does it in Bones with their intro, which is just them doing a build voice. They do that, but this is like something that immediately coming to my mind. I can't think of a ton of times Geoff has done this, but I'm probably way off, or just sick brain is talking. But no, I love that he did this and resolved upwards to the kind of the same note, kind of establishes here's our floor, and then when he dips below that, which he does quite a few times, we can call it, that's where we call it going into the basement, and then he'll establish his upper level, and then it goes up into the rafters, which he does with one of his support Geoffs here a little bit.
That mourns in lonely exile here until the Son of God appears.
So one thing that I like, Geoff obviously not a vibrato, like no natural vibrato to his voice. His voice is very clean. He doesn't necessarily have that opera training that you see with like Peter Barber, or even God, I'm trying to think of his name. He did Eric Holloway has a lot of natural vibrato in his bass voice as well, and obviously Peter can incorporate it through his opera training. So what Geoff does instead, and you see it, is that in order to mimic vibrato, it's not true vibrato, but in order to mimic it, he just moves his jaw. So you see on God, he goes ah ah ah. You could see that where almost like where I did my staccato sounds, that's him. In a legato sense, he's opening his jaw more to try and kind of force his whole vocal thing here to mimic vibrato. It's not true vibrato, but he tries to mimic it here, which I think is really neat.
Until the Son of God appears. Rejoice, rejoice.
And these first harmonies that we get, they tickled my brain in all the best ways. So shout outs for that. I love harmonies that are, this one feels like it's built with the ground being the with the ground being like the bass and the baritone being the kind of focal point of the harmony, and that's what this feels like. And then everything else layers on top of that to support what's going on in the lower range. I love harmonies that are built that way. Not all harmonies can be built that way. Not all harmonies should be built that way. But the ones that are built that way, I think are great.
Rejoice,
Yeah, because we have like our deepest voice, and then there's one that sounds like it's like a barely a step above, and then there's one that's kind of in that low baritone range, and then we get our like what sounds like two tenor voices.
rejoice, Emmanuel shall
That little bit of dissonance just to keep it interesting.
come to thee, O Israel.
And then of course we get that deep, sounds like chest note from, I'm assuming, middle Geoff, which is nice, and it leads straight into our drums, which are the thing that I'm sorry we're about to yap about. Okay, so the thing that caught me is there's an assortment of instruments going on here right at this beginning that really play very well together with this style of song. So let me see if I can quickly identify them. So apologies. So you hear that kind of like that bell tone style. That sounds like it would be. I'm guessing a marimba that's hit with a specific kind of mallet. So a lot of marimba is usually done with either I won't say metal because they're not metal, but it's like a harder substance. I'm forgetting what it is, or it's like a ball covered in yarn. You've seen that. Sometimes there's rubber involved if you're trying for a little bit more of a muted sound, and then you have just like your pure metal ones. You get metal on metal, and that really like tingy sound that like bells usually do. So we get that. I believe it's a marimba being hit with a special mallet to kind of give it that like drop of water sound. Like it sounds like that, where it's like the initial drop is there, but there's a little bit of reverb in the background that gives it a little bit of like extraness to it. And it sounds like there's a soft flute. And then of course we get our kind of traditional almost like war drums, tribal drum feeling. That's where that this rhythm here, I'm gonna tap the mic, sorry, this right here, that right there came in. So that's on those type of tribal drums. It's not done with each hand playing a single note. It's done more as like a technique of a roll. But then we add in, sounds like a orchestra bass is in there.
Day spring come and cheer our spirits by thy.
But it's mostly these tribal drum sounds that dun, 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 dun. We call them tribal drums because that's generally the feeling that they invoke. I don't know if that's the technical term for them. They're one of my favorite things. I love just hitting big ass drums with these big notes and like doing that. It was always the thing that I enjoyed the most. Like I would always get put on like snare parts because I was usually the most experienced, and snare parts typically were the hardest to play. My favorite thing was to get a big old, like we used to take our, like we had a song one time in high school where we had to take like, because we were not the richest school, but we took our bigger bass, two bigger marching bass drums and set them up, and we had to we borrowed mallets from the local music store because I had to give them back, that mimic this sound because we didn't have the true drums that were needed for it, so we had to work with it. So we had to do a little bit of tuning, ticked off our drum instructor, but we did what we needed to do. And my favorite parts were playing that. It was not doing like the incredibly hard snare part or being the in a more of a march piece, just being the bass drum that just keeps the tempo going. I never enjoyed those as much as I did just being like, I love playing timpani for that same reason. It's because you just had these very small parts, but usually they were bombastic in nature, and I, being a little bit of a attention whore that I am, I make YouTube videos for Christ's sake. I love those as a kid, so I love that sort of tribal drum sound that we get, and they're doing something very different with them, so which means he picked up some very different samples probably from the library that he taps into for this.
Adventist.
I love the little drop on gloom. He could have gone disperse the gloomy cloud and something like that, but he goes down and then resolves up with it, which I thought was pretty cool.
Sounds of night and death's dark shadow.
Those rolls on those tribal drums sound so good. Oh my god, the professional studio recordings and the professionalism behind and the technique behind them are just so good. Sorry, yapping about drums. Go figure.
Shadows put to flight.
I love the syncopation rhythms that we're getting. So we're not getting like these like on beat rhythms. It's doom, doom, doom. You know, those are kind of like on rhythm stuff, but we're getting stuff that are on like weird 16th note patterns and stuff like that, which really adds to, in this section, like the drums, they aren't necessarily the driver. Like in a lot of cases, like in Carol of the Bells, you know, our drums were our foundation support system. Here, actually, I think it's the bass line that is the driver, the thing that carries the momentum of the song. And these drums are back here to add flavor, which is not something that is done often, but when it is done well, is amazing to me. And that's the type of stuff that I loved. Because in like high school band, you were always taught like, when in doubt, listen to your drums, because they, no matter what, they are correct. Like, because we get tempo drilled into our brains from the first day we pick up sticks. And so a lot of bands, especially those that don't have the level of talent in them, only use their drum lines and their drums and their percussion sections as a foundation, being driver of tempo and stuff like that. So when you can take that driver responsibility and put it somewhere else and allow your drums to do things that are a little bit more expressive and creative. That's why indoor drumline was always so fucking fun, is because we didn't always have to be as the marchers, the, you know, the battery line as we called it. We always didn't have to be drivers of tempo. We could let the pit be the drivers, be the people that were the momentum, and then we got to do fun and creative stuff as a result. And then vice versa. We would take over, be the driver in tempo, and allow this opportunity for the pit to shine. And then, you know, every now and then we would do these things where the battery line would be completely removed from the equation and you put the focal point on the pit. That's why indoor drumline is so cool. But like, back to the main point, I love that the drums feel like, to me, they aren't the main source of tempo and the main source of like momentum, but they get to be like this really cool thing that adds really fun, flavorful text to it.
Sounds of night and death's dark shadows put to flight.
Yeah, those accent notes are coming on all sorts of wild 16th notes, and I love them. And then we get this sound that helps facilitate the transition, which is cool. One thing I love about that right there on Fly, that last note, he hits that, like, again, what I dub our bass line, and then he goes down a couple steps on it with that little downward slide / riff. I love that we're kind of coming back to these notes that he established with his bass line in the very beginning as, like, always the centerpiece. So I love that he's using those concepts, those ideas, whether it's intentional or not, it doesn't matter, but I get the feeling that this is happening, so something's achieved. So I love that we're doing that, and then he gets to play with it coming off of where that bass line is at. Like, everything is built off of that. Like, okay, here's the foundation note across the board, and then everything else gets to be built around that note and go from there. Not that that's intentional. You never want to build a piece around a note. It makes it very boring. But you can always label a note as like, okay, when in doubt, come back to this. If I don't know where to go, I can come back to this. So yeah, I love that. I love the mixture of notes that we're getting here. So now we're getting our background notes, obviously getting the very forward and the low areas. These O sounds, these O, but then you're also getting with his higher notes still sitting on ums. Really nice way to differentiate the textures of low and high, which is always nice. But it kind of shows that we're taking incremental steps here to building to our ultimate crescendo, which happens a little bit later in this piece. And then, of course, we get our nice thick chest note there. Shout out, Geoff.
Come, thou key of David, come and open wide our heavenly home.
We transition into a baritone, borderline low tenor line, but I think I'd probably classify it as baritone. Then transitions into this much more, as we're about to transition here, it goes into this much more sort of intense harmony line that we're getting. Again, building.
Wide our heavenly home. Make safe the way that leads on high, and close the
Love that slide, but I love that actually in the line leading up to that bass slide, to me, the featured things, even though the camera was focused on main Geoff, I think that the most interesting music thing was his high tenor. Man's been working on it, showing.
after misery, rejoice.
I love that misery, and he could have just ended there, but then he adds in this misery and then transitions into this high, what I think is the high tenor lead. Just little details like that keeps it interesting, keeps it engaging. I love that stuff. I love when creators know that, like, a good music arranger will always know when the trick starts to get stale. And to me, a lot of times, depending on how long your piece is, doing it more than twice means that you're lacking the creativity to find ways to transition. And so the fact that he throws in little things like this, to me, are always like cool. It shows that he really thinks about, how do I get from point A to point B, but do it in a way that is engaging and fun, not just for him as a performer, but for us as listeners.
Rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel, come to thee, O Israel.
All right. If you know me, you probably know what I'm about to talk about. My favorite musical technique is call and response. You might hear it as question and answer. You might hear it as back and forth. Lots of different ways to do it. I call it call and response. So what happens in a call and response is that you get an instrument or a voice or something like that that does one thing. And then almost immediately after, you get the response to that. So here we get, bass Geoff is going, so come to me. And then you get the high notes responding to that. In music notes, the one that I always think of in music, tracing back to my roots as a video game lover, in Super Mario Land, which is an old Game Boy game, there's an entire level where the entire song is a call and response, where the song, the first two bars are that one's probably more in line with a question and answer style, where the first two beats like ask a question. It plays a melody that is there, and then the response, the answer, is that usually it's a melody that's a step or two up, basically played in the same tone, just either notes up with a slightly different harmony, or in some cases backwards. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Geoff does what's, I think, the most traditional form of call and response, where you have your so come to me, Emmanuel. So come to me, Emmanuel. Very, very much a traditional playback. So listen to that real quick, and then we'll move forward, because I'm already over 33 minutes on this video.
Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel, come to thee, O Israel, come to thee, O Israel.
Perfect. And to me, that right there is our climax. The call and response leads into the climactic moment with them doing the Israel parts, and the drum in the background, it matches that. You're getting a lot more type sounds in the background drums, lots more rolls being introduced, lots more accents on downbeats being introduced. Really kind of emphasizing that this is like the peak. Now, it's not the most intense peak in the world, and not every song has to have that, but to me, this is the peak. Right here, leads right into this. Yes, Geoff. I hear that high note on Rejoice, that belt. I love it, love it, love it. Shout outs there. A little more call and response right before that belt came through, by the way. Go tell me if you know what it is.
Rejoice, Emmanuel shall come.
I love the way that that belt sounds on his high end, that Emmanuel. Instead of going up and up and up and up and up and up, something that like you would see like that's Ellie from, for example, is perfect, or Caesar's perfectly capable of doing. Geoff may not, I don't say he's not capable of it, but I think it's more fitting for him to go up and hit that peak and then come back down, because the rest of the song has been at a pretty low floor. And so that, and man, you, that particularly on that you sound, I think to me that is the true rafters of this song. It's not the ceiling of it where you go above it, but it is definitely the moment. And to me, that's like when you talk about Geoff going into the rafters, that's what it sounds like. Oh, that fat sub harmonic sound right there. I don't think that was chest. I think that was subs. No, that might actually be chest, knowing Geoff. It'd be subs on me, because I'm not that, I haven't developed that deep of a range, even in my very, very untrained learning this on the fly type thing. But yeah, it'd be probably subs for like someone like me, but for him, that might be actually be chest. Maybe chest fry at worst, but I think that's chest. Tell me if I'm right.
Rejoice, rejoice.
And right here, you hear the drums cut back, and we're getting basically a little bit of piano. That's it, because now we're resolving the end of the song.
Emmanuel shall come to thee, who is right.
Make note 329. Let's see if I can find it.
Right.
Do you hear it? The exact same note. What he established 14 seconds into the song, he ends on 3 minutes and 10 seconds later. Perfect. When I talked about that note, when all else fails, come back to that, he did that just in a different way. Very, very cool stuff. I love this arrangement musically. There's a lot of really cool things going on. Obviously, visually, not the most impressive thing in the world, although I love Geoff in this getup. He looks good. Looks real good. So yeah, very, very cool musical piece. Lots of very fun and interesting things going on in that. So let me know what you think below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Go check out the community post that I put up just a couple of days ago. This was going to release on Sunday, so it would have been on, what, Thursday or Friday? So 2 or 3 days ago. And give your feedback, particularly because some of this could potentially impact you down the future. I've talked about something like even a second YouTube channel that's maybe dedicated to nothing but my reactions, and then this channel becomes strictly my gaming side. So if that's something that you'd be down for, be open to, then let me know. I want that feedback, because I want to be able to have the pulse of my community and see what you guys want me to do moving, as I'm kind of moving into a new future. The decision's been made to do it. It's just now a matter of how can I do it with the least level of impact on everyone involved, while also taking the next steps in the evolution that I want to make as a creator. So let me know what you think. Go either comment on that, comment here what you want to see about with the future of these reaction videos. And until the next video, I hope you all stay safe, hope you enjoy yourself, you're having fun, you listen to great music, and I hope we will see you again, definitely, I'm sure, for more Christmas reactions.